how's it going? It's Jamie, the Crafty DIY guy, and I'm back. I've got some Dollar Tree DIY projects for you today that are Christmas related that I am super excited about. A couple of the projects did get some supplies from like Amazon and stuff, and I'm going to link that info below. But y'all, I am so excited about these projects. I'm like really excited. I probably had like 5 or 6 cups of coffee, which probably is not ever a good idea for me, but that helped me get all of these videos out, which I'm stoked about. There is one project in particular that I have been saving up since July. I had purchased a bunch of these things in July and created a Christmas DIY with them. And when I saw them back in July, I had this idea and I thought, yeah, I'm going to save them. And I literally hunted like every single Dollar Tree I could in the Atlanta area to find enough of these to make this project. So I hope you guys will like that one a lot. Hey, if you are one of my long-term subscribers, one of my long-term friends, I call you guys my OGs. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you. You guys have been with me for over a year, and it's been amazing getting to know all of you. If you're brand new to the channel, maybe within the last year, of course, thank you also for being here too. I truly appreciate you guys and love getting to know all of you guys. If YouTube happened to recommend this video to you, thank you, YouTube. But also, if you're brand new to the channel, check it out. Maybe you'll subscribe even. And I would love to get to know you as well and, get to share more of my ideas with you guys. All right, enough chatter. Let's get into the video. All right, everyone, and for project number 1, we're going to use one of these star pillows. It's kind of I think they call them a mermaid pillow, where you can kind of see it makes different colors there. And then we're also going to use one of these wood cube boxes that you can pick up at Dollar Tree in the Crafter Square. We're actually going to turn it around this way, so you're just going to use it kind of as a base. And then we're also going to be using a large dowel rod. You can pick these up at Dollar General. You can also get these at Dollar Tree. This particular larger size did come from Dollar General. So go ahead and drill a hole in the top of your box, and you're going to make sure that that hole is big enough, of course, for that dowel rod. Then to weigh down this box a little bit, I am just going to add some rocks and some twig pieces that I had left over from Dollar Tree, and then I am going to add a generous amount of hot glue onto the top of that lid, because we're actually going to be gluing that on the inside of the box, because you're going to want to weigh that down. So hopefully that makes sense. Then I did add a little bit of hot glue down along the base and in the hole, and then put my dowel rod in there. And now I'm going to put some glue kind of around the base of that dowel rod, just to kind of seal everything up really well and to make sure that everything is good and stable. I did take it outside and I spray painted it this beautiful sunrise red, which I love so much. Also, we're going to take our star pillow and a pencil, and we're just going to kind of jag a hole in the bottom of it, honestly, and then put some glue on the top of that dowel rod, and then just kind of force that pillow down on top of there, kind of like so. And then when you have it done, it will stand up kind of like this. Certainly pretty cool, and I love the way that this looks in my bathroom. I stuck it on the shelf here, and I think it's the perfect complement to my Christmas bathroom, and it could really go anywhere in your house. And for my second project, I'm going to take 2 of these placemats from Dollar Tree. These are the famous red truck placemats that I just recently found during my last haul. And I'm actually going to fold over that snowman part of it, because I don't really want the snowman part for this pillow. I'm going to save those actually for another project. So I am going to go ahead and cut this, and I'm going to cut it right along that area there where I folded it, just so the snowman is not part of this particular pillow. And I am going to repeat this on both of my placemats. That way I have 2 placemats that do match up evenly. And then I do want to add a little bit of embellishment to this. So while my glue gun is heating up, I am going to take one of these jingle bells. You can get these in a package of 8 from Dollar Tree. And I grabbed some ribbon. I felt the red truck ribbon was appropriate. And I'm essentially tying them into 4 bundles, kind of like this. they are going to serve as the bells on the corner of each pillow. So we're going to go ahead and take our two ends and we're going to match them up. Well, first what we're going to do is take those two jagged ends and we're going to just add some hot glue and we're going to fold over those edges because those edges are frayed and we want to make sure that those edges are nice and clean. So just give it a little bit of a fold, kind of like what I'm doing here, and you're going to repeat that all the way across, and then you're going to do that on your second pillow as well. Now, go ahead and match up your two kind of newly glued edges, and as you can see, I've got one jingle bell already in there. And then you're just going to literally match up your seams all the way down. I do this a little bit at a time. That way, if for some reason I don't match up my seams, I can easily just kind of pull it apart while that glue is still wet and do this. And then once you reach your corner piece, then you're going to take one of your ribbon pieces and you're literally just going to stick it into the corner there and make sure that that bell is nice and secure in there, kind of like so. And you can literally just glue this down. You could also make those ribbon pieces stick out longer if you wanted to make that bell longer. Now it's time for the fun part. Just start stuffing your pillow. As you can see here, I'm literally just pulling some stuffing out from an old pillow and just making sure I'm getting all of those corners nice and good, and then working my way until I am completely happy with the way that the pillow has been stuffed. And then what I'm going to do also is kind of push all of that stuffing to one side of the pillow. And the reason why I'm doing that is because then it's time to glue down this other edge of the pillow. So once I've done that and everything is dried, this is what it looks like. I love this. I think it looks really, really cool in my chair, especially with that buffalo check blanket and that cool little tree next to it that I picked up at my local Goodwill. I'll show you how I did that. I just literally picked up this plant at my local Goodwill. I glued some of these jingle bells on it to kind of make it a little bit of a Christmassy plant. And then I am adding a string of my red truck lights to it. And this is what it looks like when it's all bright and shiny and lit up. I was able to hide that battery pack right inside the inside of the plant. And I think it's a perfect complement to my side table. And for my next project, we are going to take one of these triangular shapes, these shadow boxes that you can get from Dollar Tree, and also a package of these, what am I talking about here? A package of this vase filler and then one of these candlestick holders. So take your shadow box outside, spray paint it red, my favorite color red, sunrise red that I'm using from Rust-Oleum. And then that candle holder that I was talking to you about as well, we are going to flip that upside down and we're going to spray paint it black. That is going to serve as the base of our kind of a tree that we're going to be doing here. So once everything is dry, I'm going to add a thin layer of hot glue down at the bottom. Kind of working really a little bit at a time is ideal because this glue does dry pretty quickly. So add a couple of your styrofoam vase filler balls in there, spread it out flat, and literally just start building layers until you have a completed filled shadow box, kind of like so. And if you need to go in and fill in any pieces with any of your filler that's left over, you certainly can do this. I did only just use the one bag. And then for the base itself, I am going to take that candle holder, I'm adding a little bit of glue to it, and boom, you've got a little decorative Christmas tree accent. For this one, it is sitting on my bar. But again, you could put this really anywhere you want it in your house. And for my next project, I'm going to take one of these square canvases from Dollar Tree. I'm also grabbing this Dollar Tree ornament that I really liked so much. And I'm also grabbing a package of shims that I picked up at Home Depot. You can get these in the wood department. They are about $1.50, I think. And as you can see from the shims, they look like they would be flat, but they're not. One side is going to be a little bit larger than the other, but that's okay. What we're going to do is we're actually going to be alternating these. And as you can see, they are the perfect size for my canvas. So I've got the larger end at one side, and now I'm alternating it, putting it large to small, large to small, large to small. And that does create kind of a It's not a flat surface at all. But then if you go back in and do the opposite with your shims right over top of it, then you're going to have a flat surface. Now, if you didn't have shims and you wanted to use large popsicle sticks, for example, you certainly could do that. Now, I am just going to slide those off of the canvas. I did not glue those down just yet. And I'm taking some of my brown antiquing wax, and I think this one is from Waverly. And I'm just going to go over my canvas, and that's really just so you don't see any of that white canvas just kind of peeking through on this particular one. I will go back through later on, you'll see, and I'll end up using some black chalk paint to kind of go around the edges and the edges of the shim as well. But for this time being, you can just use this antiquing wax kind of like I'm doing here. And you'll go back and forth with it until you get it to the color that you like. I kept mine kind of this lighter brown color, and I did like it. I was fine with it the way it turned out. And then once again, just kind of rubbing it in, going back and forth with the cloth. I'm just using an actual dish towel that I purchased at Dollar Tree. I always keep one on hand, and I just kind of use that anytime I'm going to be using any kind of an antiquing wax. And then once again, once you are done and happy with that, you can go ahead and take your heat drying tool or your heat gun and dry that off. And now we're going to start gluing our shims down. Now, in the same pattern that I did before, I'm going to start gluing those down. And then after I have that first layer completed and that canvas is completely covered, then I am going to go back over all of those shims and alternate them the other way. So hopefully that's making sense to you, because this essentially is going to be a flat piece of wood, or a somewhat flat piece of wood, versus the way that the shims kind of are high to low. It would not be very flat. So hopefully that's making sense. It's making sense to me anyway. And then, as you can see, I've got now all of my shims glued down here, and they're nice and solid. And now what I'm going to do is take my antiquing wax once again, and I'm going to take that antiquing wax and I'm literally just going to go right over top of those shims, making sure that I get them the exact color that I need. I really do like working with the antique wax. For me, it's better than stain. It also cleans up a lot easier if you get some on your table or on your cutting mat or even on your hands. It is so easy to come off. You can use some regular soap. You can easily get this off. It's very similar to chalk paint. And again, with the antiquing wax, I'm going on fairly heavy and just kind of going back and forth. Those shims are kind of rougher pieces of wood, which is kind of nice, because as you can see, it's really taking the stain and it's taking it very differently depending on the shim that is there. And I love that, because this is going to look very old, very rustic, almost like a reclaimed wood. Now, while that is drying, I did take my reindeer outside and I spray painted it black. I did remove the kind of the embellishments that were around its neck, making it less Christmassy. And I'm just using this Rust-Oleum black. And then for the antler ring, I'm going to use a dark steel spray paint from Rust-Oleum. This is kind of going to be a very industrial, cool looking vibe. Okay, now that everything is drying outside, I've got my plaque here, my shim plaque, and this is where I mentioned earlier that I'm taking some of my black chalk paint, and I'm just going to go around the edge of the canvas, and then you'll see that I did go ahead and just start doing it all the way around the edges of the shims. And the reason why I did this is because it kind of created like a really cool frame effect that I really did like a lot. This is going to go in my office area, which is kind of an industrial-ish vibe, and I really like the way that this looks. So once you're complete, you can see how cool it's going to look, because it will have that dark kind of frame, if you will, around it. Now, for the actual antler ring itself, we're going to add some hot glue to the back of that, and then we're just going to glue it down in the center of our wood plaque. kind of like so. We're going to make sure that that's good and solid and stays there nice and dry before attempting to glue this guy on top of it. And then for that guy, I am going to just kind of lay him on top of there. And you'll see that there's this one little antler piece that sticks up. I did go ahead and take a pair of wire cutters and I just kind of clipped that. The antlers had good contact with the antler ring, but there was still this kind of space behind his head there. So I had this piece of scrap wood that was just this round circle. So I did go ahead and just paint that black with some chalk paint, and then I glued it to the back of his head and then glued it on top of the wood plaque itself. And once everything dried, it turned out really cool. This is the way it looks, and I love this. But what I also loved about this was that it's very, very easily you can turn this into something very Christmassy, very easy. You could hang it with ribbon. You could tie a piece of a twine or a bow or anything around its neck, or you can just keep it like I've got it here. Very cool, very industrial looking. And for my next project, we're going to take one of these house shadow boxes. This toy soldier that I have here, this Nutcracker, came from Michael's. It was in a pack of 5 or 6. I bought them last year, and I think I paid around $8 for all of them. For the shadow box, this is one of those shadow box houses that sometimes people can find really easily. And then I also have this placemat that I thought kind of looked like Christmas trees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my shadow box, I'm going to line it up around the edge of that placemat there, and then I'm just going to trace around it. And I'm going to trace around it with my little fat pencil. I love these pencils. I think these are like pencils for kindergartners or for kids that are just learning how to write, but I love them. I did go ahead and pop the back of my house out. If you are really, really good at tracing and cutting down, you could certainly keep the back of your house on there. I am not that great at that, so I just popped it off. I did try this spray glue from Dollar Tree. It is not good. Don't bother. You'll see that I ended up later on using hot glue and going back in and fixing it. Now, for this toy soldier guy, I'm actually going to cover him in antiquing wax, and I did that there. And then I'm going to take my cloth and I'm just going to start rubbing it off because I want this to look like a really cool old wooden soldier. I love that against that red. Now you can see here where that spray glue, even after an hour, still hadn't dried enough to hold this down. So I am just going to take some hot glue and go all the way around all the edges of that. And then now that's cool. All right, for the house shell itself, I am taking some white paint. I've sped the camera up. Don't worry, I'm not painting it that fast. And I am just covering this in white. And I'm kind of purposely not doing a super even coat because I do want this to look just a little bit on the rustic side. I'm taking my heat gun once again and speeding up that drying process. By the way, that was an acrylic paint that I used. And then on my brush, I have just a tiny bit of antiquing wax. And I'm just going around the edges and trying to get some of those corners. And it's just to give this white paint a little bit of definition and to really tie in that toy soldier, or I keep calling it a toy soldier, that Nutcracker thing that I used. And once again, I'm just kind of going through, and then any of those heavy spots that I might have hit too much with that brush, I can just go in with my cloth and just blend those in, and it ends up looking really, really good. And I love the way that this turns out. I'm addicted to antiquing wax, clearly. Now, for the back of our house, that is the part that I did peel that back off. That's why it still looks kind of rough. That's okay though, because I am just gonna glue this right back down to the back of that house, or that red house cutout, I guess is really what it is. And adding a fairly generous amount of hot glue along those edges. And then I love to put a lot of hot glue on, and then I use the heat from the tip to kind of spread that glue around. And then once I've lined everything up, I'm going to go ahead and press down and just squeeze that together and make sure that we've got good contact there. And please excuse my dirty fingers. Yes, I know I can use soap. I can wash them. I chose not to. For the toy soldier itself, I am just going to add some glue right to the base of that toy soldier or that nutcracker. I'm still calling it a toy soldier. And I'm going to glue it down to the center of my house. So it kind of looks like this here. I really think this is super cute. Very, very adorable. I'm going to let that dry really well. And then I added a little bit of an embellishment at the top there. I just added some green pieces and a very simple pine cone. Now, my next project is not from Dollar Tree. However, this is really, really affordable. I was able to pick up these cardboard letters from Amazon, and I am going to link them below. I think it was a pack of like 52 letters or something like that, and it was around 20 bucks. And I love these because they're 5 inches and they're pretty good size. Now, I had this leftover board that was from my pergola, so I'm going to use that too. I took these outside and I spray painted them my favorite color red, which is that sunrise. And then for that board that I had left over from the pergola build, I spray painted it white. Now I'm just going to glue my letters down to the board just with some hot glue, kind of like you see here. And then I am going to add a little bit of an embellishment at the top of the board. And then I added a simple bow that I just tied myself. And then to hang this, I did add some beads on the back of this and just simply hot glued and used a little bit of duct tape on the back to be able to hold this up on the door. I love the way that this looks. All right, you guys, my next project I'm very excited about. You may remember these 4th of July signs. I have been saving these signs since 4th of July. I have 9 of them, I think. And actually, I probably have about 12 of them. Now, I bought these wood squares that are, I think, 6 inches at Amazon or on Amazon. And then I have more of my wood cardboard letters that I told you about from the previous project. And I am going to be making a Christmas sign that I can hang on my mantle or use outside. And the way we're going to be doing it is kind of gluing these 3 things together like so. So I'm going to take my square pieces here and we're going to take them outside along with our letters outside, and we're going to use some spray paint to cover these. Now, you can also use craft paint or, chalk paint if you want to. I'm using my Sunrise Red paint from Rust-Oleum that I, again, love so, so much, and I'm just going to be painting all of my letters in that Christmas red. And then for my wood squares, I'm going to be spray painting those white. I'm using a Rust-Oleum flat white paint that I like a lot. I use this for almost every single project that incorporates some sort of white paint. For those corrugated metal signs, I am going to be using the twine that already comes on them, but I am just going to cut it in half. So I just kind of stacked them on top of each other here, and then I just cut them in half. So what we're going to do is we're going to take each one of our white squares and we are going to hot glue them on top of your pennants. Now, if you are planning on using this outside, I might recommend that you use like Shore Bond or even a super glue of some kind. E6000 Quick Hold would certainly work. I think mine's going to be inside, although I'll show you how it looks for both of them. So as you can see, through the magic of speed television or speed YouTube or whatever we're going to call this, I am gluing these down pretty fast. And before I start tying anything together, I am going to make sure that each one of those letters are nice and solid and everything is good and dry. So I am literally just taking each individual letter and having a little oopsie of glue there and scraping it off, and then going back through and getting all of these letters individually placed on their individual pennants. And then once everything is dry, I am going to start tying them together kind of like you see here. Now, if you wanted to get fancy with it or decorative with it, you could use some kind of a buffalo check ribbon or something else. I'm choosing just to use the twine, one, because I didn't have enough of that buffalo check ribbon. But again, I think that this kind of adds to that cool rustic kind of element, especially using the corrugated metal. Also, I don't know if you noticed or not, but every single one of my pennants was the exact same. theme. They all say blue and welcome on the reverse side. So this is something that you could feasibly use when it becomes 4th of July time again. So as you can see, I'm just tying each one of those together and I'm kind of putting it in a little bit of a bow. And this is what it starts to look like when it's all coming together. Now, this is what it looks like on my fireplace that is not decorated for Christmas yet, but I think you get the idea. But look how cute it would be if I wanted to do it outside as well. This is what it looks like hanging from my brand new pergola. Again, super, super cute and very, very versatile.